All right, everyone. Hello, and thank you for joining us for the Pando Days 24-25 Spring Term Project premieres. My name is Matthew Manos. I'm the head of a design firm called Very Nice here in Los Angeles, faculty at USC, and most importantly, a longtime Pando maniac. I'm your host today. Pando Days is the program that turns academic work into real-world solutions for impact in your community and world. All Pando Days premiere events follow a standard format. Each team is given 15 to 20 minutes to present summaries of their projects. And then after that, we'll have about 30 minutes of open dialogue and Q&A from a panel of experts. These events are recorded, and then over the summer, the recordings, along with all the project materials, will be posted on each team's dedicated webpage, which you can find at pandopopulous.com. The projects are then judged by a distinguished panel of specialists, honors and prizes passed out, and networking opportunities galore happening at the Pando Sustainability Awards. So please stay tuned for details on that. And today, without further ado, we'll be hearing from California Institute of the Arts, or Cal Arts. The project is led by Shannon Scrofano and is titled Mutual Blue Futures. It aims to build ocean literacy and equity by creatively translating priority sustainability strategies and objectives for both key political leaders and the general public. Can't wait to hear more from the team. I'll throw it over to you guys for your presentation.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Matt and Eugene and Betsy and Alexi, and all of Pando Populace for this opportunity. I am Shannon Scrofano, and I'm on design faculty. I'm design faculty at California Institute of the Arts. And today we're really excited to share what we've been working on this year. It was an initiative that began as Mutual Blue Futures and has actually evolved through student leadership into an exhibition called Blue Echo: Our Commitment to the Oceans. This work actually has a little bit of ancestry in our Pando Days project from 2 years ago, which was called Sea Studio. But this one puts the spirit of art and science and policy advocacy into action through our new partnership with the World Resources Institute and their Oceans program. And so we've dug into the UN SDGs, number 14, life below water, as well as number 3, good health and well-being, number 12, responsible production and consumption, number 13, climate action, and number 15, life on land, which connect very well to LA County sustainability goals 5 and 6 here at home. And in addition to the chance to share with our Pando Populace in Southern California communities today, I just wanted to let you know we're really busy with preparations to send a student delegation of 11 artists, designers, and musicians to the United Nations Oceans Conference in Nice, France, coming up in only a week's time. And that has really been due to the incredible partnership that we've had with World Resources Institute. Today, we're joined by Tom Pickrell, who's just amazing, and Sam Fay Hunter of WRI, who's connected us to a much bigger network. And it's just in them, I think we've found partners who have been deeply enthusiastic about the power of creative practice and intervention to engage more people, and especially younger people, in ocean literacy and advocacy. And they're really helping us zoom out and see the biggest of pictures and to zoom in and see the most beautiful of details of our blue planet. So in the work of Blue Echo, this iteration, we used key ingredients from WRI, including their 2030 transformations agenda, which has been put forth by their high-level oceans panel, which comprises 18 nations representing half of the world's coastlines, and their blue papers, which deep dive a range of ocean-related topics and open up space between high-level leadership and public communication. So we started in our fall class spending time with Tom and Santa Fe and Jenny LeBlanc and Katie Wood, the communications expert as from WRI, as well as Deandra Marizette Esparza from Intersectional Environmentalist, Mark Haubner from Biodiversity for a Livable Climate, and each other. The fall class was graphic designers, animators, filmmakers, writers, musicians, visual artists, actors, composers, photographers, and experienced designers. And we explored ideas from Dr. Ayanna Elizabeth Johnson, Wallace J. Nichols' notion of blue mind, Damon Centola's theories of behavioral change, Rob Hopkins' propositions for rewriting the future, Rachel Carson's intimate relationship with intertidal creatures, Roman Krznarik's ideas about being a good ancestor, Catherine Hayhoe's entreaty to talk about climate change, Project Drawdown's work, the Six Americas Project out of Yale, and many more. We even took a boat together out to Anacapa Island to see the thriving kelp forests in the marine protected area there, which is like night and day with much of the rest of our coastal waters in terms of biodiversity, habitat, and ecological richness. And we engaged questions like, what do we need or want to know? What do we want or need others to know? What does knowing have to do with being as an ecological citizen, with action? What kind of encounters change your mind to the degree you cannot go back to old ideas? What mental models help us seek and steward our interdependence with other life on the planet? And what could impact look like for each of us personally? And what could it look like for our ocean king? And then in the spring, a number of these artists, including all of the ones here today, stepped up into independent studies and extended project development to get their work ready for a global audience. And before I pass the torch to them, I just want to say that this group of students has really inspired me with their sensitive yet fierce personal and collective commitment to the work artists can do for and with the ocean. Juliana?
Thank you, Shannon. I'm going to share a quick video that introduces our project. It has audio, so make sure that you can adjust it on your end. Okay. What does it take for people to care about the ocean? Sometimes we come to the table armed with all the facts and figures we can gather, and still it feels like no one is listening. But maybe facts alone don't start a movement. Sometimes it takes something else, something deeper. This is where art can play a vital role. Artists are skilled at imagining the indescribable, to give the things we struggle to express a realized form. When science-based research is coupled with this creative talent, art can turn something as massive as the climate crisis into something personal, something human and knowable. Art can provide an entry point into possibility. Blue Echo is an exhibition born from that possibility, a collaboration between the World Resources Institute and artists from the California Institute of the Arts. Together, they worked across sound, sculpture, performance, and design, translating the work of WRI into art that aims to provide space for enhancing ocean literacy. Because when artists and scientists work together, research becomes rhythm and data becomes emotion. Because real change, it begins with shifts in how we see, how we listen, and how we care. All right. So hi, I'm Adriana Ridings. I'm sorry if you're tired of hearing my voice. I'm one of the creative producers behind Blue Echo, and I personally have a background in working in museums at the intersection of art and public engagement. So I have professionally seen firsthand how art can really aid in communicating important messages to public audiences.
And hello, I'm Val Costa or Valeria, and I'm the other creative producer on the Blue Echo team. I'm a graphic designer, artist, and yoga instructor, and I am interested in how art and communication can motivate change.
So the idea behind Blue Echo really stemmed from a desire to create an entry point for audiences to understand how critical the ocean is as both a resource and a solution to climate change. We were incredibly inspired in the first semester of working with Shannon with the work and goals that came up in the World Resources Institute's work, which shows how the ocean is a true life source. And we really wanted to use our creative voices as a way to amplify their mission and their data-driven work.
And so talking about data, the ocean contributes 2.5 trillion annually to the global economy, sustains 3 billion people, houses more than half of the world's species, and serves as our planet's support system. However, its health and economic viability faces significant threats from overfishing, habitat degradation, pollution, and rising temperatures, jeopardizing fishing, tourism, and coastal communities. For us, it is crucial to emphasize ocean literacy. Understanding the ocean's complexities promotes better stewardship and advocacy. Key ideas we've integrated in these projects centered kinship, interconnectedness, activating imaginative thinking, and the importance of emotional engagement. We want the audience to walk away with not only knowledge, but a deeper emotional connection to advancing the sustainability of the ocean.
Okay, and I'm going to share my screen again. So this is our current website. And as you'll see right here, we have some more synthesized versions of our goals for the project. And I wanted to highlight here is our intention to use this space to showcase a diverse range of media, including projects ranging from composition, sound design, video, and interactive sculptures and designed objects. So you'll hear more about some of these projects from the artists themselves in a moment. But we really wanted to create a lot of different ways for people to access and kind of jump into understanding this work. And by creating a space for a range of works, we hope to provide a multiple points of entry for a public audience. And as Val mentioned, all of this is in the hopes of enhancing ocean literacy and by finding different ways to get audiences thinking differently and capturing their attention.
And we are developing Blue Echo as an adaptable exhibition that can be scaled for broader accessibility and travel to multiple locations. With all this in mind, we are envisioning an environment where knowledge can resonate, creating a dynamic connection between the art, the ocean, and our communities. Being a part of this group has been extremely gratifying. I have learned from my fellow classmates as we have worked collaboratively with the same goal in mind. We are all unique, bringing our skills and different experiences together to function like a collective organism whose aim is to advocate for the longevity and health of the oceans. Now, we would love you to hear from some of the artists whose work is featured in this project. So let me send it off to Alex.
All right, great. Morning, everybody. I'm Alex Taylor. I'm a musician and an experiential educator with a background working with youth in national parks, in schools, and in other informal learning spaces. And I've been working in collaboration with Holly Webb, who I'll share a little more about in a minute, on a sound installation entitled Sounds from Our Climate Future. This is an interactive sound-based experience that integrates data from Climate Interactive's En-ROADS, a climate solution simulator, into a choose-your-own-adventure style musical composition. Essentially, we're trying to translate data and graphs of what the possibilities of the year 2100 could look and feel like into a sonic experience that will make participants feel that more viscerally. They shape the composition by engaging with specific climate actions, transforming data into an emotional and immersive musical soundtrack of the year 2100. And this entire soundtrack will operate on a loop with many different possible versions of each instrumental track, essentially being triggered based on the choices and MIDI controller interactions of participants with the installation. At the end of the participatory experience, each user will receive follow-up email communications with their created soundscape and a stated climate commitment. And Holly, like I mentioned, Holly Webb can't be here this morning, but I'll just read. She left a little bit of information about herself too. She's come on board as the designer, visualizing the physical design as we start to incorporate the audience interactions into our sonographic installation. With each output graph, we'll be physically connected to a MIDI controller that affects the composition. And Holly's been kind of questioning how to design for a feeling of responsibility, as each audience member will slide, turn, shift, spin, and alter kind of different buttons, different styles of MIDI controllers to affect the sound. We've been starting to incorporate that technology into workshops to aid audience members so they understand some of the more complex interactions, like placing hand pressure on an iPad to understand the weight of population growth and how that will affect our climate future, as an example. And I'll pass things over to Navdeep to talk a little bit about his project.
Okay, thanks, Alex. Hi, everyone. I'm Navdeep Singh Galen. I'm a composer and musician. I worked on this project, Rana Saramaya. It's a composition. Ravi Deo and I are the collaborators. I'm the composer and producer, one of the producers, and Ravi is the double player and alto co-producer. So Rana Saramaya is a music composition for flute, violin, string bass, piano, and tabla, centered on nature and ocean themes, and combines the following styles: Indian classical, European classical, and American jazz. The music reflects the ocean as it is remembered from three distinct ecosystems: the mountains, the desert, and the forest. Ranasaramaya, which is Sanskrit for majestic, graceful motion, magical. These three words describe each of the three locations and also describe the ocean itself. The music is meant to illustrate the importance and impact of the ocean on our lives. And Ravi will have a few things to say as well.
Yeah, thanks, Navdeep. This music isn't about the ocean, but it's shaped by the ocean. Its rhythms and textures are like the tides. They are influenced by geography, but they're driven by these larger forces. In this case, it could be our history. My name is Ravideo. I have a background in marine biology and science outreach education, in addition to my background in music. And as a producer and advisor on this piece, I was deeply impacted by how each movement doesn't just represent a place, but it channels the emotional and environmental memory of water within that landscape. So a close listen to this piece will ask, how do we listen to the ocean when it's no longer visible, but it's present in the soil, in the wind, in memory? How can we recognize its presence in our daily lives? And how might we facilitate a conversation between sound and stewardship? How do we carry its messages, like the ocean, from one embedded shore to the next one? So I do hope that we all get to explore these questions in this as we hear this piece. I'm going to pass it on over to Lizzie.
So Lizzie is having internet issues. So she's trying to hop on right now. Oh, there she is. She's connecting.
Wonderful.
Lizzie, perfect timing. Can you jump right in?
Sorry, my Wi-Fi keeps going in and out, so if my thing crashes, so sorry. Okay. So my name is Lizzie Whitney, and I'm an MFA, well, gonna be MFA 2 graphic designer at Cal Arts, and I'm gonna share my screen. So basically, I have made a series of postcards. So I have 3 different postcards, and it's a 3D and design-based project focusing on sugar kelp, aquaculture, and the blue economy. And so I have I have one postcard for each category. So the first one, I have like the ocean is the solution motto. So I made this in Blender and it's like a 3D logo. And then I have like the back. So each postcard has like a 3D scene on the front and then information on the back. And all this information comes from WRI's website and like different papers I read and everything. And then this is my aquaculture postcard. So I have like a 3D scene on the front of like how like some of these like low trophic fish. And then I have like how the aquaculture like farming kind of looks like in the water. And then I have this kind of menu on the back with different like information and facts. And then I also have this one focusing on sugar kelp, so I kind of have this like 3D modeled kelp line in the ocean, and then I have all these like I've modeled all these like products that kelp can be like made into or like made out of. And then I have like more information about kelp and like what it is on the back and like going more into like all of these products which are actually like real and that you can buy. And so yeah, I'll be handing out these postcards in France and then yeah, and then basically my aim for this project is just to educate and strengthen the relationship between the ocean and humanity and also focusing on the narrative of humanizing the ocean. But yeah, those are like my projects at the moment and yeah, thank you so much.
And hello again. I'm also an artist in this group, and I was inspired by books like Blue Mind, From What Is to What If, and of course, the WRI Blue Papers. And I created Ebb and Breathe, a 3D motion meditation experience designed to transform viewers into the world of the ocean. The project stemmed from my background in yoga and meditation, as well as my desire to tackle human health and well-being as it relates to the ocean. So the project aims to evoke the calming qualities of the sea while strengthening one's connection to nature. I'm interested in posing questions to the audience that aids them in introspecting on the past, present, and future possibilities of the ocean. So posing questions like, imagine a future beyond the climate crisis. What does that feel like?
Okay, and then not all of our artists could be here today, but we wanted to mention a number of the other projects that have been developed as a result of this WRI collaboration. One of them is called the Blue Box. You can also read more about these on the website. The Blue Box was created by Vesper G, and it will be gifted out. It's a gift box full of sustainable ocean products, and it will be gifted out at the conference in Nice next week to the High Level Ocean Panel. Then there's Bluetopia, created by Kiana Rusiga and Rachel Lertzman with Miles Carrera. And it's a fictional podcast exploring the ocean's vast complexities with a focus on climate future activism. Um, and then I Made a Promise to Coral is a interactive sculpture that incorporates touch responsive sensors, projection mapping, ambient sound. It's a really interactive experience that we're really excited to showcase. And then Shell Phone by Helen G. Oh, and I Made a Promise to Coral was created by Jay Carley. Shell Phone, created by Helen G. Or she is a tactile lo-fi experience that transforms a physical shell into a channel for connection, where you can feel, listen, and immerse yourself in the ocean's presence. And then finally, some of our students were inspired to bring this, all the learnings to a wider student audience. So they are working on an ocean teach-in that focuses on peer education, interactive and dynamic playful engagement to share what they've learned with their peers.
And next Saturday, we take excerpts of this work to the third United Nations Oceans Conference in Nice, France, where we'll work with World Research Institution to launch related interactive activities in collaboration with Gen Ocean and the Ocean Decade Forum, share our work through the Ocean Literacy Pavilion with our new colleagues at ECOP, and premiere Rana Saramaya on a tall ship in the Nice harbor for the high-level ocean panel, and give away the first round of blue boxes to the World Research Institution high-level ocean panel. And planning is also underway for a later summer/early fall full Blue Echo exhibition in Los Angeles. We'll keep you posted on that, of course. And CalArts is very excited for the chance to continue our WRI partnership in the fall with a new class of students in the Creating Equilibrium course, who will add to and enrich the work in preparation for the Ocean Conference in 2026 in Kenya. As artists and designers, we are deeply honored to be contributing to such crucial work. Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, really great work, guys. Such a wide range of output. I think it's a great reminder that, exploring one medium with research can do so much, but being able to break that out across all kinds of media gives us such a three-dimensional or maybe even, I don't know, six-dimensional kind of look into this as well. So fabulous work. We want to hear from our panel now. We've got a little bit less than a half hour, and the idea is an informal back and forth discussion about the project. How might we assess this? Where do you think this could go next? It already has a really great next step in front of it, but how can it make even more impact? And et cetera. And so with us today, we have Sasha Calder and Anna Cummins. Sasha is a recognized leader in sustainability who believes financial success and sustainability go hand in hand. In 2018, she founded the company Resilience to work with brands to maximize their environmental and social impact through responsible sourcing, sustainable packaging, and climate action. And Anna is co-founder and executive director of the Five Gyres Institute, the nonprofit she founded in 2009 with her husband Marcus Erickson to scientifically investigate and find solutions for plastic pollution in the world's oceans. They were the first organization to research this pollution in all five main subtropical gyres, most famously the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. So thank you for joining us. And why don't we, Sasha, start with you and have you go first on any reactions to what you saw, any questions that this brings up, etc.
Definitely. Well, it's so great to be here today. So thank you to Betsy and Eugene and the Pando team. It's been a while since I've seen everyone, so great. And I'm really thrilled to see Anna as well. We were actually just messaging last week that we needed to catch up, so it's such a treat to get to see her face here. I think I have layered reactions, but I'm just deeply inspired. I think the work that you all are doing and kind of the dimensionality of the different mediums of how this work comes to life really hit. Like there was something, Valeria, you just said that of like, we really want to get to how people feel. And I think every single project did a really good job of evoking different sense of that dimensionality. Um, so I think I just have a lot of questions. I think like my biggest question across the board is what would it really look like to activate, and how are you thinking about the audiences here? Like who is the audience? What would they want to hear? How would they like to engage with this work? That's my biggest curiosity and kind of thinking about how it could come to life.
Yeah, would anyone like to respond to that?
Well, I guess I'll go. Um, so I feel like the audience is I think we are thinking about a youth audience in mind, especially with certain projects like the Ocean Teach-In, and even the more like interactive ones where there's education kind of at the forefront. I think that's very important, but we're also speaking to people who are already doing this research, are ocean advocates already. So I think our audience is also pretty wide for that. And then the spaces we're looking at, we're looking at the Reef, which is a space in Los Angeles. And something that really calls to us with that space is that it has an ability. Okay, it was a renovated furniture like display room. Um, so it has this kind of like interesting IKEA setup where you can like control lighting and kind of control portions of the space. So that really called to us in terms of we can have video projection in one space and not have to worry about the light messing up that area, or because there is so much multiplicity in these projects. So that's something that calls to us. But yeah, we're still exploring the options for that. Mhm.
Yeah, thank you, Val. I think something else that comes to mind is that we really wanted this project to be nimble enough that pieces of the exhibition can travel to places that more directly maybe speak to maybe you know, where pieces make more sense, right? So pieces can travel on their own. People can interact with things online. People can have the whole exhibition pop up in their communities. And maybe every single time it kind of shifts depending on where it is placed, to be able to speak directly to the communities that it is interacting with, was kind of an initial idea behind being able to piece all these different things together.
Awesome. I know Anna has a lot of experience in the space, so I'm so curious to hear her perspective, especially working with youth and getting them engaged in these dimensional ways. So, Anna, I'm so eager to hear your thoughts as well.
Yeah, I mean, I can jump in because my head's exploding with a couple of synergies. I'm just thinking where to start. First, I want to echo all the gratitude, and it's so fun to see Sasha, and I really appreciate the invitation. Um, I'm going to tangent for a quick second because I've been working in this plastic pollution space for the last 15 years, but my husband and I had an original dream of starting a network of science-based sustainability centers. So we're starting our transition, and a pilot that we worked on last year was building modular exhibits for libraries. And we've looked a lot at the model of Carnegie and the library culture. Take aside the flawed accumulation of wealth. We'll just set that aside for a quick second. But with building this library culture across the country, especially in rural areas, I think you might all know this, but there was a statistically significant correlation with literacy rising. You put resources in small rural communities. Not only did literacy rise, but innovation and patents rose, which really speaks to the idea if you give people the education and the resources, then they're able to activate. So we're actually starting our transition out, and I'm curious, like for an offline conversation about potential partnership. We're poised to take over the California Oil Museum in Ventura County, which was owned by Chevron, given to the city, and the narrative of being able to transform from oil into progressive. We're calling it a science center, really it's ecology, but we're trying to do the same thing in rural Wyoming. And I'm curious, speaking about audience, because we, as an ocean-based organization, in the beginning, we've grappled with the same question about how do you make something like ocean plastics relevant for people in landlocked areas, but we all connect to water. I mean, no matter where you live by a watershed, a river, a creek, a stream. And so that's one area where we found some synergy. But I'm curious if like pieces of this modular exhibit could potentially land in Lusk, Wyoming, which has 2 million people drive through every year en route to Black Hills and Rushmore and all those places. But it's a very red town where we're trying to think about how do you find common ground and avoid terms like climate, but really focus on resilience or even self-reliance, because that's something that the local ranchers resonate with. Okay, that was a bit of a ramble, but coming back to what I heard so far, I love the idea coming from, the famous quote about we protect what we love, is that there has to be an emotional connection first. And I'm curious to hear a little bit more. Is the primary goal just really evoking the emotion, and or is there a secondary piece of like, once you've sort of captivated people, are you wanting to drive them into specific action, or is that too prescriptive of a question? And maybe I'll pause there. Yeah, let me pause there and just hear about the action piece a little bit.
Well, that's a great question. Also, thank you for sharing all that. That like excited me. I'm like, I feel my energy rising. I'm like, ooh, calm down a little. Um, but I think that we do desire for this to evoke emotion, but certain projects I think want to push it a little further, not in like a pushy manner. I'm thinking of Alex's projects where he talked a lot when we had our individual one-on-ones of how do we propose a commitment afterwards. And same with Jay's project with I Made a Promise to Coral. That's really asking the audience to sit with this idea of what would my promise to Coral be. So yeah, Alex, jump in, please.
Great. Yeah, so I can speak to that. Anna, both Anna and Sasha, it's really great to hear your backgrounds because I was sort of really connecting to the ways that you've approached thinking about action and also just thinking about impact. Like I think probably all the people in this room are aware of all the ways that we are asked and told as individual citizens and individual consumers to change our behavior. And it's also really like the term carbon footprint was coined by an oil and gas company, right? So it's like, I think we're all aware of that dynamic. And so to me, thinking about audience, I think it's important to target some of the folks that twofold. I think to target folks that have like political and business power to make changes and impacts at sort of a higher level, and also to help all of us realize that we sometimes have that power too, but maybe we just don't think of it, right? If we work in a school district and we can help leverage that school district to make changes in their composting policy, to talk about the example you were sharing before from CSUN. So if I can share my screen, I can just show I think this will work. We didn't test it. But I can show kind of an example of how I'm trying to connect
That'd be
more
amazing.
directly. Sorry.
That would be amazing.
Okay, yeah, sure. So, so just an example to sort of make this a little more visual. This is the En-ROADS Climate Interactive. It's an interactive model, so it's a web-based data simulation that was started at MIT and is now a standalone nonprofit. And they do amazing work. You can sort of picture that each one of those dials you can move to one side or the other. And as a result, you can see sort of the output graphs of the year 2100. But there's a whole slate. There's dozens of these different output graphs. These are just kind of two of the key ones, the greenhouse gas emissions and temperature increase. So the idea of our project is to take this kind of visual data situation and turn it, this is an initial model. This is not fully fleshed out, but essentially each one of these, there's a gas pedal, there's a bicycle wheel to represent more efficient transportation systems. There's a gas valve to represent how much coal and oil and gas we use as an energy source. So there's going to be a bunch of different sensors that are MIDI controllers. And the idea is to take data, right, that feels maybe a little bit less tangible to folks, and then put it into a very real world context that people can understand, that people can see the impact, and really to hear the impact is the idea. So this'll be a part of the soundtrack, and based on the way participants change things, it will affect the way that the soundtrack comes back at them. And Anna, speaking to what you were saying about sort of different communities and working with modular exhibits, I'm super invested in that. I am from a landlocked part of the country, and I unfortunately grew up in the district. Her name is escaping me, which is fine. The Republican that was almost our envoy to the United Nations. She is the congressional representative where I grew up. So I really connect with that like idea of building connections across political difference, and finding ways for everyone to be invested in making solutions and seeing that it is mutually beneficial. And the way that we're designing this with the MIDI controllers, we essentially are going to have a bunch of these sort of small MIDI controllers, a computer with the soundtrack, and a bunch of cables, and then the need to have a good speaker system. So this is a sort of exhibit that definitely could be modular, could sort of pop up in libraries, and in different places like that. So that's kind of where I've been envisioning this going.
And if I could put
Awesome. Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Oh,
Go
no,
ahead.
no. I had a follow-up question, and it might be equally like non-profity, too didactic or too prescriptive, but curious with well, I love the idea of engaging, empowering people to then maybe speak to their representatives. Maybe that's what you were going for. And we're definitely in a moment, without getting political, where people really need to be engaging with decision makers and elected. So are you thinking to try to like track any of these approaches? And are there other models that you're looking to? I mean, I have no question that art is a powerful motivator for change. And, speaking to the youth piece, I can't tell you how many young people I've met who just seeing a singular image, we've done a ton of youth outreach, and I'm sure you've all had similar experiences of young people get it, they have a sense of justice, and an image can sometimes have a lasting impact on a young person. but yeah, so I'm curious if you're thinking to track or test any of these methods, and if so, like how are you thinking about that?
Sure, sure. Yeah, this is maybe not, and anybody else feel free to jump in too. This is something that Holly and I have talked a little bit about. It's a little bit of like a sideways answer to your question. Um, I think it is important to us to have folks as part of the exhibit sort of make a climate commitment and have some follow-up to that. So the entire soundtrack, as participants are interacting, is going to be recorded. And the idea is that we can take the 5-minute segment or 10-minute segment from when that participant was there, and we can timestamp them. So people are going to kind of be not clocking in, but are going to have a timestamp from an iPad where they'll put a commitment that they are making to have a positive impact, to help shape our climate future. So we can share that. The plan is to share that soundtrack that they've created and the commitment that they've created in a follow-up email, and have a series of, once we have that data, have a series of kind of follow-up email interactions to hear if they have made good on that commitment and sort of what their progress looks like. And I've really been leaning into Damon Santola's work on designing for behavior change, not just designing for education, because there is a distinction. And one of the things that he notes in his work is that important of making a commitment and then kind of being held accountable to that commitment. So that, I think that's one way that I've thought about this, but it is the chance to sort of play test some of these models and see what the impact is really something I'm interested in, and I think probably need to keep doing more, digging into what those opportunities look like.
I just want to say I'm glad Tom has his hand up, because I did want to say from a macro perspective, that's what's so excellent about this like multi-year collaboration is this is the weave that we're interested in, I think. And Tom, I also hope you'll maybe just speak briefly to the transformations agenda, which has these really kind of incredible breakdown of goals in these different sectors. And then it's how do you get this to the citizen level and kind of move folks between. So yeah.
Thank you very much, Shannon. And I always leave these conversations with the Cal Arts team with just so much enthusiasm. It's fantastic. So I'm a marine biologist. I'm a professional in this area. So working on this is just fantastic. As Shannon mentioned, the high-level panel for a sustainable ocean economy, or the Ocean Panel, as we shorten it to, is 18 world leaders who have come together as self-identified ocean leaders. Now they've signed off something called the Transformations Agenda, which is a document that sets out the things that they're working towards to achieve a sustainable ocean economy that marries up production with protection and equitable benefits. So it's a really ambitious goal. But how do we get there from where we are now? What they've agreed is a headline commitment that each of the 18 countries will sustainably manage 100% of their national waters. And that, all of the countries together, that equates to over 1/3 of the world's national waters. So it's a significant effort. 8 of the countries have already achieved this. The other part of the transformations agenda, there are 14 strategic outcomes, one of which is on improving ocean literacy. And underneath each of these outcomes is one or more priority action, which is the nuts and bolts of how they're going to achieve that outcome. And there are 3 under the ocean literacy umbrella. And so this work ties in directly to that strategic outcome and also 2 of the priority actions. I also wanted to note about the monitoring. Monitoring progress is something that's hugely important. One of the things we're doing is monitoring the progress that these countries are making through dashboards and an annual progress report. And what we're asking is, how are they progressing on each of these actions? So the 74 different actions. We've already done the dashboards once. The first time, we've took a subset of 26, because it's a journey with these countries. It just takes one of them to say no to anything. But we're going to extend out to the full 74. So we'll actually be able to see how these efforts and similar efforts can actually impact at the country level. But you're absolutely right. This goes beyond the country. It goes to people, educating, bringing them on the journey. But one thing I have learned from working with countries, both in government and in this role, is that scientific evidence is only one of 22 factors they consider when making a decision. And there's a lot more out there that it relates to emotion and feeling and sort of the public opinion. And so I think, this is such a huge complement to the sort of the science that we normally do. So I hope that helps to sort of bring it back a little bit to the progress reporting and how we can actually take that and show you how this work has led to it. Yes, Anna, you're absolutely right.
Thank you so much, Tom. Let's throw it to Sasha.
Thanks, Tom. I really appreciate that perspective of government progress and some of the limitations there as well. I'd be curious to hear a little bit more from everyone about what success looks like. I think in understanding whether you're dealing with government officials trying to push policy forward on international, state level, like Tom, you do globally, Anna did, was one of the leading forces over a decade ago on microplastics, like seen many different angles. I used to chair Surfrider LA here in Los Angeles. And so worked a lot with the community and understanding. And I think no matter if you're working with government, working with brands, working with just citizens and people, friends, a family member at Thanksgiving, wherever it is, I'm curious, like, what does success really look like on that? What would an emotional unlock create as an outcome that you would feel really positive about with this work? So, is it somebody calling their representative? Is it them having a revolutionary spirit as they go into the grocery store the next time? Like, what is that metric that you're really looking for that is meaningful?
I'll say something. So our piece has been recorded, and we have a stereo recording, and we have a few other options. We're looking at having a surround mix as well, and we can also have a live performance. So this is kind of tying into the other question that was asked about that. And it can be kind of pulled out of the exhibit and kind of presented on its own. I would say success is on kind of different levels. Well, because like the success can just be people enjoy the piece and they enjoy the music, and it gives them kind of brightens their day. They maybe dance a little bit and enjoy company of their friends while the music is playing. But then there are also, like, obviously, goals that we kind of set out with this project. When I wrote this, I mean, I have a marketing background a little bit, so I think a lot about the audience and like their role in the concert and how the music affects them and how they leave feeling after the experience. But even more so in this piece. And I thought a lot about inspiring those in the field, giving them some maybe sparking some new ideas, or kind of just giving them determination to continue forward on their platform. And also, like, the audience too, kind of bringing them along the Six Americas, like getting them thinking about these things, appreciating the music, and also kind of taking them on this journey and maybe thinking about it a little bit more deeply than they would have had they not been listening to the piece or been invited to this exhibit.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
I think we have to treat this a little bit as artistic research. And another thing that's so exciting about the multi-year partnership and the potential chance to share this in some different locations. I mean, an ocean-based conference is so different than what you're talking about, Anna, and in Montana. So I'm like, yes, but I think we really do want to do, like Alex was trying to speak to, the work of play testing and trying to have those conversations or get that feedback and really not be completely deterministic about how someone might feel or what might change their mind, but to try things and see what's landing with different types of audience and to integrate that into future work that that new students pick up. Because I think that is really useful. I mean, it's amazing to know that you put different resources in rural libraries and patents go up. Like, so I think we will be looking for those kinds of ways that maybe other people are measuring things that we can tap into, or like what are the kind of things that we can do ourselves to keep learning as the work starts to echo out in different locations with different audiences.
Yeah, just to jump on that, just that I think success looks like so many different things depending on where the work is and who is interacting with it. I mean, it can look like someone, yeah, calling their representative, someone making a lifelong commitment after listening to Alex's piece to never use plastic again or not eat meat or whatever it might be, right? Or it could be someone in a landlocked state coming across Lizzie's posters and learning, oh, maybe when I'm starting my new business, I can look into kelp as a resource instead of a plastic or whatever. So like success can look like so many different things, and that's why this work is so exciting.
I completely agree. Just want to hear that from all the different angles.
Let's go to Anna for one more comment or question.
A quick comment. Yeah, my second plug for libraries, just like I've through doing this project last year, we got a little grant from the Sustainable California Libraries Foundation to put in this modular exhibit on plastic pollution and regenerative ag at our little local Santa Paula library, bilingual because that's the community, with the idea that this could then go to other libraries. And what we learned through this is that libraries are trying to reinvent themselves a little bit. Just everything has changed, you know, with the advent of digital everything. And they're trying, some of them are trying to become more of a resource center, not just for books, but also for, you know, for example, our little local library has like a lending program for Wi-Fi connectors or like packets on sustainable living. So that's my little library soapbox. But my other comment I wanted to make, you know, we had a board meeting a couple nights ago, and one of our board members is an officer at the Walton Foundation and was really frustrated with how hard it is to direct philanthropic dollars to oceans. But you know, so much of the ocean problems start on land. And so really making that land sea connection. So you could be landlocked and not necessarily get, you know, the ocean piece, but connecting people to things that you can do, you know, that in a land-based source can also be another way to approach ocean health. So I'm sure you've thought of all that. So excited to continue this connection because I know we're almost at time.
Amazing, everybody. Really great discussion and wonderful projects. Again, I think it's stimulated a lot of conversation, and next steps are kind of apparent. You know, maybe some exciting new partnerships are going to come from this meeting alone. So great work, everybody. And want to say thank you to our respondents, Sasha and Anna, as well, for your time and for your thoughtful comments and questions. And Shannon and the Cal Arts team, wonderful work again. Thank you for the opportunity for us to premiere this exciting project. I'm really excited to hear how it goes next week and so on as well. Our next premiere event is later today at 1 p.m. We'll be hearing from the UCLA Extension School. But for now, thank you for joining us, everybody. And until then, Pando on.